Have you ever sat alone staring at your phone, wondering why the person you give your attention to seems distant while someone who barely tries appears to attract everyone around them? It is a painful question because it forces us to examine something deeper than relationships. It forces us to examine ourselves. For many years, society has sold us a beautiful story. We were told that if we were always available, always agreeable, always ready to sacrifice our own needs for someone else, then love, respect, and appreciation would naturally follow. It sounds noble. It sounds kind. It sounds right. But many people have discovered that reality does not always work that way. They followed every rule they were given. They were attentive. They were loyal. They were willing to give everything. Yet somehow they still found themselves feeling overlooked, rejected, or emotionally exhausted. The problem is not kindness. The problem is not love. The problem is that many people build their entire identity around being accepted by others. When that happens, they slowly lose themselves without even realizing it. The truth is that attraction, respect, and meaningful connection often begin when a person develops something many people spend their entire lives searching for: a strong center within themselves. There are certain people who walk into a room and immediately command attention. It's not always because they are the best looking. It's not always because they are wealthy. It's not always because they are loud or charismatic. What makes them stand out is something deeper. They seem grounded. They seem comfortable in their own skin. They are not desperately searching for approval. They are not constantly adjusting themselves to fit the expectations of others. They know who they are. That confidence is not arrogance, it's stability. When a person has a strong center, their self-worth does not rise or fall based on how someone else feels about them. Their value does not depend on likes, compliments, messages, or validation. They appreciate those things, but they do not require them to feel complete. Many people spend years chasing external approval while neglecting their own foundation. They become so focused on being chosen that they forget to choose themselves. This is where the real struggle begins. One of the greatest ironies of life is that the more desperately a person seeks approval, the harder it often becomes to receive it. When someone constantly needs reassurance, they unknowingly place a burden on every interaction. Every delayed message becomes a crisis. Every disagreement feels like rejection. Every moment of uncertainty becomes a source of fear. People can sense this energy. It does not matter how carefully someone hides it. It appears through body language. It appears through behavior. It appears through emotional reactions. The issue is not vulnerability. Healthy vulnerability is powerful. The issue is emotional dependency. There's a major difference between expressing feelings and needing someone else to manage those feelings for you. A strong person can openly admit their emotions while still remaining emotionally responsible for themselves. They can love deeply without losing themselves. They can care intensely without becoming consumed by fear. That balance is what creates genuine strength. Many people enter relationships as complete individuals, but slowly disappear once the relationship begins. At first, they have goals, hobbies, friendships, and personal interests. They have their own direction in life. Then little by little, they begin to abandon those things. Their schedule becomes centered around one person. Their emotional state becomes controlled by one person. Their happiness becomes dependent on one person. Before long, they no longer recognize themselves. What started as love gradually transformed into emotional dependence. The tragedy is that the very qualities that made them attractive often disappear in the process. Their independence fades. Their confidence weakens. Their sense of purpose becomes blurry. The relationship begins carrying the weight of responsibilities it was never meant to carry. No person can successfully become another person's entire source of identity. That responsibility is too heavy for any relationship to survive indefinitely. Purpose is one of the most attractive qualities a human being can possess. A person with purpose wakes up with direction. They are building something. They are growing. They are moving toward goals that matter to them. Purpose creates stability. When challenges appear, purpose provides perspective. When rejection happens, purpose provides resilience. When loneliness arrives, purpose provides meaning. Without purpose, many people become vulnerable to making relationships their entire reason for existing. That is dangerous because relationships should enhance your life, not replace it. A healthy relationship is two complete people sharing a journey together. It's not two incomplete people desperately trying to fill each other's emptiness. The stronger your purpose becomes, the less likely you are to lose yourself in pursuit of validation. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning to live with uncertainty. You cannot control how others feel. You cannot guarantee that someone will stay forever. You cannot force attraction, loyalty, respect, or love. Trying to control these things often creates more suffering than the uncertainty itself. Emotional maturity means accepting what you cannot control while continuing to live fully. It means understanding that your value remains intact even when someone chooses a different path. It means realizing that rejection does not define your worth. It means refusing to hand over ownership of your emotional well-being to another person. This is not easy work. It requires patience. It requires honesty. It requires courage. But it is some of the most important work a person can ever do. Many people spend years searching for techniques, tricks, and strategies to become more attractive. They memorize scripts. They study social tactics. They attempt to project confidence. Yet true confidence cannot be manufactured. Real confidence comes from knowing yourself. It comes from building a life that matters to you. It comes from developing discipline, purpose, character, and self-respect. When those things are present, they naturally influence how you speak, how you move, how you think, and how you interact with others. You do not have to pretend. You do not have to perform. You simply become the person you are always capable of becoming. The attraction that follows is not the result of manipulation. It is a natural result of authenticity. The greatest freedom in life is not finding someone who validates you. The greatest freedom is no longer needing validation to know your value. That does not mean you stop caring about people. It does not mean you become cold. It does not mean you avoid connection. It means your foundation exists regardless of what others choose. When you build your worth from within, rejection loses much of its power. Fear loses much of its control. Anxiety loses much of its influence. You become free to love without desperation. You become free to connect without dependency. You become free to choose from a place of strength rather than fear, and that changes everything. The question is not why some people attract more attention than others. The deeper question is whether you're building a life that belongs to you, a life rooted in purpose, a life grounded in self-respect, a life guided by principles rather than approval. The journey toward emotional independence is not completed overnight. It takes time. It takes mistakes. It takes self-reflection and growth. But every meaningful transformation begins with a decision. The decision to stop chasing what can only be temporarily given by others and start building what can permanently exist within yourself. Because when you finally develop that center within, you discover something powerful. You are never missing as much as you thought. You simply needed to come home to yourself. And in this day and age, really and truly, in the age of social media, there are so many people looking to become what they see as far as what's hot for the day, what's cool for the day, what everybody loves for the day. And by the time they manufacture themselves in a false manner to become or to look like this person in many ways and with their character and characteristics, that fad is over. And here's another one. And that's the trick of social media. That's the trick of modern society. Build yourself up. Become that person that others follow, if it has to be anything. Because too many of our youngsters are learning this thing too young. They want to be what they see to be validated. Back in the day, we had to go through our teen years and puberty with the insecurities that came with it and our comparison to adults in the world on a much slower pace, but we got through it. And when we did, we were more grounded than ever before. The sad part is we have grown adults in their 20s, in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, still going through puberty, still not knowing who they are, still trying to compare themselves to become somebody else that they were never meant to be, and that's sad. So now they go into a relationship, and the person who they've gotten into the relationship with doesn't know who they are, because that person doesn't know who they are. They're pretending. And maybe sometimes the person that you get with loves what they see as far as you and your false character, thinking that that's you, but only to find out you're a cheap carbon copy of some projection out into the world and the media and social media. We had more characters that were authentic back in the day. Some of the old men that we would listen to, they were just so much themselves. And people would say they were opinionated, but they respected it because they stayed behind it 110%. Now people are shapeshifters. They want to be politically correct according to what's put out there in the world. And it's a sad thing. We don't have the strong, rooted personalities that we used to have. Yeah, there are a few out here, but many people would find them to be offensive or not popular. But you talk to them now, and of course they grow. But 10 years from now, they're the same rooted individual. So many of us are trying on other personalities and other personas for size to see which attracts the most attention. And it's sick. It really is. I've watched grown men and women do this. You know, I mean, it's okay to go through your own self-exploration, but I've seen people try on being a Jehovah's Witness and a Christian and a Muslim and now the whole African thing. Do you know yourself? Do you know who you are? My name is Lance Scurv. They call me Lance Scurv or Lance Scurv X. I've grown over the decades, but I'm basically the same prototype from when I came out of my mother's womb. I just added more branches on my tree, and that's the way it should be. I can be the best me more than anybody else. Anybody copying me is a cheap copy. I like that because I'm an original. I don't want to be a secondhand anybody else and chase validation that way. I just want to throw those words in, but I want to thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure and an honor, and I love doing this every single day. Give me your feedback, share your comments. I see them all. Feel free to come through Lance Scurv out. On to the next one. And as always, I wish you nothing else but peace.